heard that you think you might have killed your sourdough starter. Oh no. Chances are, my opinion, is unless you did these two things, you didn't kill your starter. The first thing that would kill your starter is if you intentionally or accidentally baked it. And I know a lot of people that store their starter inside of their oven with the light on. And to me, that is a big no-no. And here's why. One, I don't trust myself to remember that it's in there, so I'm gonna forget about it. Two, I don't trust the people that I live with that they're gonna check the oven before they turn the oven on to preheat it. Those would be two reasons that I do not keep my starter in the oven, because it will bake on accident. And then I don't have my starter anymore at all. So the first way to kill a starter is baking it. So if you haven't baked your starter yet, you probably haven't killed it. And then the second mistake, or the second thing that can kill a starter, is what I call super neglect. What is super neglect? Super neglect is where it has been sitting on the counter unfed for weeks, maybe months. Maybe you put it in you just kept forgetting about it and days go by and then you just don't want to deal with it. I know that's happened to all of us at some point, where we're just like, oh, I need to take care of this. Oh, I need to take care of this. And life just happens. And before we know it, there is a science experiment in the corner of our counter and we're responsible for it. Like, what is that smell? Then probably you should start over if you're in that situation. Here are some things that you don't necessarily need to start over. So when it comes to how much can you neglect your starter without it being super neglect? And to be honest, a lot. It is not as finicky as you may have read or heard or believed. We start our starter, it needs daily attention. So if you're starting the starter from scratch, you're gonna need daily attention. And yes, it's just like a child or a toddler, like it needs a little bit more care, but as it gets older and more mature, it's also going to gain some of its independence. And this is where we have a little bit more flexibility in how often we feed it, in where it's stored, etc., etc. Super neglect is when it's sat on the counter or in the refrigerator for months without it being able to breathe. So that people who put their starter in the fridge with the lid on, that is like another thing that's just it's not gonna have the airflow that it needs to sustain the good bacteria in it. So I put my starter in the fridge with plastic, and my lid just kind of falls on top of it. So it's covered, but it's loosely covered and it's allowed to breathe, but not open enough that any contaminants can get inside of it. So there's like this balance between protecting it and giving it time to breathe. Now, part of why we may be keeping it in the fridge is because we don't want to constantly be tending to its every need. So if you do put it in the refrigerator with the lid closed tightly, you're creating, all the gas is going to get stored up. And when you do finally open it, it is going to maybe like pop open. Then you're going to have a mess on your hands and that kind of stuff. So I definitely recommend allowing your starter to breathe. The other thing, if you do put it in, you would need in the refrigerator with a lid on, you would need to like burp it every day so that it has that opportunity to let the gases out. And if it can't, then it's like the perfect little environment for all the bad bacteria and the good bacteria to like commingle, and then you have a mess on your hands. Ideal setting for your sourdough starter is after you feed it, leave it on the counter, let it double, When it doubles, loosely cover it. And that can be like a coffee filter and a rubber band, maybe a plastic wrap with like holes in it. And that will just be enough for it to be able to breathe without contaminants being able to get into it. And this can be stored in your refrigerator for a long time. Now, the other factor that plays into it is like how thick you are making your starter in the first place. So if you do a 1:1 ratio, your need to feed it is going to be even more constant. So you're going to need to feed it daily, or it's going to get hungry a lot sooner. So I feed my starter maybe something more like a 1:3:2 ratio. And that just like allows it to be thick enough to be sustainable. And with this kind of ratio, you even can leave it on the counter for 4 to 5 days without needing to feed it. So it's like, are you neglecting it? No, you've just like taken care of it enough that it is being sustained, and it is still going to be good to use even on that 4th or 5th day without much boosting. Now, an example, we cannot keep our environment perfect, which we don't, and we don't want our sourdough starter or our sourdough journey to take over our lives. We just want it to we want to be able to make bread for our family and enjoy the process of it. But yesterday in our town, it was warm and the windows were open, the heat was turned off, and I woke up this morning and it was 67 degrees in my hallway, which probably made my kitchen like 64 degrees. Very cold for a starter. But that is okay because we have the time. So if you're in a colder environment, expect longer growing times. If you're in a warmer environment, expect a quicker response time. So if we are so dependent on the amount of time versus what our starter is needing and looking like, then we are going to constantly be struggling with this. So I like to feed, look at my starter here. This one is it's hungry. It's getting ready to be, it's gonna need some food soon, but I don't need to do it exactly 24 hours later. I can keep an eye on that because it's in the middle of my counter. So I am a huge component of the out of sight, out of mind. I like to keep my starter well fed and in the center of my counter whenever it's not in my refrigerator, because I will remember to take care of it. Just to recap, there's only 2 ways to kill your starter. 1, baking it. 2, super neglect. All right, let's go in a little bit of what super neglect might look like. Because sourdough, a healthy sourdough starter won't mold like how maybe a block of cheese would mold. So we like to, we're not going to see that result. And sometimes you're going to get a starter and it's going to develop a liquid on top with like a black, maybe black or grayish. That's not considered unhealthy. So I personally am a little grossed out by like the black liquid. It doesn't happen very often, and really it would be like years of sitting in my refrigerator for it to even get to that point. But since I use it so often, I haven't really gotten to that point too many times. But if you do get a liquid and it's gray or it's black, you can just dump that off and then stir it in and your starter is fine. You're just gonna need to give it a good feeding, and it should bounce back after a few feedings. The bad bacteria color in starter is pink. And I know a lot of people get a little paranoid about that, but it cannot develop within 4 days. So a lot of times people have maybe made their sourdough bread dough and they're like, oh my gosh, my dough is a little pink. Well, did you use Himalayan pink salt in your recipe? Then yes, of course it's going to be a little tint of pink. don't worry about it if it's only been a few days. Like if you fed it and then you see like a tint of pink and you use this pink salt, obviously it's going to be pink. But sometimes we are so paranoid about it that we just throw it out. So I do advise, like if you don't feel comfortable with like where your starter is at, then definitely start over. But know that it is a very extreme case where it goes bad. And so if you're not falling into these like extreme scenarios, then just go ahead and try it, and you should be fine, right? So don't bake it and don't super neglect it. And then you should just be able to feed your starter wherever it's at. All right, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.